Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into the Apple Watch Series 5, specifically the GPS 40mm version from an Amazon renewed listing that you flagged.
Right. And our goal here really is to pull out the key takeaways for you, especially if you're maybe thinking about a smartwatch or, jumping into the renewed tech market.
Exactly. So we've got the Amazon listing itself, loaded with customer reviews, tons of them, and also an expert review of the Series 4, which helps set the stage a bit.
And looking at that listing, first thing you notice is the conditions offered. Renewed excellent and renewed good.
Slightly different prices for those.
Yeah, and you also see those Azurian protection plans right there. But honestly, the sheer volume of reviews, like over 28,000 ratings, that's huge.
It really tells you something, doesn't it? A lot of people have bought this, even renewed.
Definitely. A lot of real-world experience captured there.
And before we get totally swamped by those reviews, let's remember that Series 4 context. The expert review called it a big step up, larger screen. ECG, fall detection.
Right, important features. And the Series 5, well, it basically builds right on top of that foundation. So keeping the Series 4 in mind helps understand the 5.
Good point. So maybe we should clarify what renewed actually means on Amazon.
Yeah, worth doing. Amazon says they're inspected, tested, refurbished. Basically, they should be fully functional.
Okay.
And they mention cosmetic conditions, premium, excellent, good, acceptable. This one highlights excellent, which they say has like minor scratches you can barely see.
And good.
Good. Might have a few more visible scratches, maybe around the border. You also get accessories.
But not always the original Apple ones, right? Could be compatible ones.
Exactly. Compatible, not necessarily original. And the packaging might be original, might be new. But importantly, you do get Amazon's return policy and their A to Z guarantee.
So there's some safety net there.
Some trusted coverage.
Okay, so looking at the watch itself on the listing Series 5 GPS 40mm, it talks about the always-on Retina display.
Which was a key feature for the Series 5, wasn't it? The screen stays dimly lit.
Right. You don't have to tap it or raise your wrist constantly just to see the time. And it keeps that 30% larger screen from the Series 4.
Plus swim-proof electrical and optical heart sensors. Standard stuff for that model, running watchOS.
They even list the dimensions, weight, and that it first popped up around January 2020.
Okay, so now, the customer reviews. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Yeah, that 4.1 out of 5 overall rating. It sounds decent, but maybe hides some details.
Exactly, because when you actually read them, it's a mixed bag. A lot of people are genuinely pleased with the condition it arrives in.
You see words like pristine, like new.
Yeah, and they mention easy setup. One person specifically said all their apps moved over easily from an iPhone 11. So that initial impression is often pretty positive.
That's good to hear. That first moment you open the box, you want it to feel good.
Definitely. But, and this is a big but.
Here come the downsides.
Yeah, if you look at the negative reviews, one theme just dominates. Battery life.
That's often the Achilles heel with older or used electronics, isn't it?
It really seems to be here. Loads of people saying it just doesn't get through a full day.
Not even a full day, like needing a charge mid-afternoon.
Some even say it struggles to go a few hours. One reviewer checked the battery health and said it was only at 76%.
Wow, okay. That's not great.
And it lines up with that Series 4 review, remember? It mentioned about 18 hours battery and needing daily charging even when new. So battery wear on a renewed one isn't shocking, but...
But maybe worse than some people expect? Got it.
Yeah.
What about actual functionality beyond the battery?
Generally, people seem okay with it when it works. You see comments like, everything worked beautifully.
But there's a but coming again, I feel.
Well, yeah, there are definitely reports of things going wrong, watches suddenly not turning on, screen glitches, stuff like that.
So reliability could be a bit of a gamble.
It seems that way for some users, yes. And it's not just the battery life, it's also the charging process.
Oh, what's wrong with the charging?
Some say it just takes way too long to charge fully. One person couldn't get it past 94% no matter how long they left it.
That's weird.
And another pointed out there was no charging brick, the wall adapter included, just the cable.
Ah, okay. So you might need to already have one or buy one separately. Good to know.
Another potential cost. And then there's durability.
Right. You mentioned the cosmetic conditions.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. But how does it hold up?
Well, again, it varies. Many get it looking great. No scratches, tiny scratches, but then you hear about scratches appearing pretty quickly.
So maybe the finish isn't quite as tough, or maybe the glass?
That's what one reviewer wondered. They had a screen protector on, went showering, which it should handle, being swim-proof, and the screen cracked.
Whoa. cracked while showering.
Yeah. And they speculated maybe it wasn't original glass used in the refurbishment. We don't know, but it's a worrying anecdote.
It definitely raises a flag about the potential quality of replaced parts.
Yeah.
So tying this all together, value for money. What's the verdict there?
Completely split. You've got people calling it a great value, an insane value for what they paid.
Because they got a working Apple Watch for much less than new.
Exactly. But then you have others calling it garbage, not worth it, usually because they ran into those battery or functionality problems.
Makes sense. Your value perception depends heavily on your specific experience.
Totally. And one reviewer made a sharp point suggesting the really low price might almost be too low, like a warning sign.
Interesting take. It implies maybe corners were cut somewhere.
Could be, although it's not all doom and gloom if something does go wrong. There was one really detailed positive review.
Oh, yeah.
Praising the seller, specifically Woot. The user found the battery health was low, contacted them, and Woot gave a partial refund, but let them keep the watch.
Oh, that's pretty good customer service.
It really is. And it highlights that who you buy the renewed product from can actually make a big difference. The seller matters.
That's a crucial point in this kind of marketplace. Checking seller ratings might be smart.
Definitely. And speaking of mitigating risk, Amazon pushes those protection plans quite hard on the listing.
The Azurian ones.
Yeah.
2-year, 3-year options covering accidents, breakdowns.
And even a monthly complete protect thing for lots of Amazon stuff. They promise 204/7 support, easy claims.
Which, honestly, given the mixed reviews we're seeing, might actually give you some valuable peace of mind.
It could be a worthwhile investment for some people, yeah. Now, let's quickly loop back to that Series 4 expert review again.
Okay. What else did it tell us?
Well, it confirmed the larger display was a big deal back then. It mentioned the advanced health stuff like ECG, which the Series 5 also has.
And it reinforced the battery situation, right? Daily charging was expected even then.
Yes, that 18-hour estimate meant daily charging was the norm from the start. So expecting multi-day life from a renewed one is probably unrealistic.
What about sleep tracking? Was that mentioned?
Yeah, the Series 4 review noted the lack of native sleep tracking, and that's still true for the Series 5. You need third-party apps for detailed sleep analysis.
Okay, and didn't that review have a point about software updates? That seems pretty important for an older model now.
Absolutely crucial. It's speculated that older models like the Series 4 might lose software update support around 2025.
So buying a Series 5 now, you have to consider its remaining software lifespan. It works now, but for how many more major watchOS updates?
Exactly. Future compatibility isn't a guarantee forever.
So let's try and synthesize this. For you, the listener, thinking about this watch, what's the bottom line?
Well, it seems like this renewed Series 5 can be a cost-effective way in. You get a lot of the core Apple Watch features, potentially at a good price point, and many users are initially happy.
And it feels like there's always a but. With renewed, sometimes you absolutely need to be aware of those potential downsides, especially battery life.
Definitely battery life. And maybe durability. The experiences are just so varied, it highlights that variability is inherent in the renewed market. It's not like buying new.
No guarantees of a perfect unit.
Which brings us back to those protection plans. Might be something you seriously want to factor into the total cost, just in case.
And that seller experience story suggests doing a little homework on the seller themselves could pay off.
Check those seller ratings, see if others have had good support experiences.
And finally, that software update question looms. It's about the long-term viability, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long will it feel like a modern, fully supported device?
Right. That's a key long-term consideration.
So this whole deep dive, it's really interesting because it's not just about this specific watch. It's about the whole idea of buying renewed tech.
Exactly. It's that classic trade-off, isn't it? Saving money versus potentially taking on more risk.
Risk of things like weaker batteries, maybe some cosmetic flaws, or even functional issues down the line.
Yeah, this gives you a much clearer picture than just the star rating or the marketing copy. You see the praise, good condition, easy setup, but you also see the very real worries.
The battery struggles, the charging quirks, those potential hidden flaws.
So for you listening, what does it boil down to? Is that lower price worth the gamble?
And would adding a protection plan make that gamble feel safe enough for you? What's the most critical factor you would focus on here?
Maybe think about what you absolutely need from a smartwatch. If rock solid all day and then some battery life is top of your list.
Then maybe an older, renewed model just isn't the right fit, no matter how cheap it is.
Could be. It might just lead to frustration.
And this brings up a final thought. We talk a lot about sustainability, right? Is buying renewed inherently the more responsible choice?
Well, it keeps the device out of landfill, which is
Okay.
good.
But if that renewed device has a significantly shorter remaining lifespan, or if you end up needing repairs or replacing it sooner, does that offset the benefit? Is there still an e-waste concern?
That's a really interesting question. The trade-off between reuse and potential shorter functional life, definitely something to mull over as you continue looking into this.